Welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as talks begin with Xavi Simons and PSG for a move to Manchester United. Yes, we spoke about this morning, but yes, there's been a bigger update with Fabrizio Romano confirming that what was reported this morning on the United Stand news show via an article in the Daily Mirror has actually been confirmed as being genuine now by Fabrizio Romano, who says Manchester United are interested in Xavi Simons and have discussed conditions for a deal with PSG. There is a bit of a twist to that because there's other clubs involved, but what are your thoughts on that then? Because I think that, well, there's multiple things I want to talk about here as well, but also I think we need to bring Jadon Sancho into this conversation a little bit later as well, because what I'm hearing about that is that Jadon Sancho is still very much up for sale. Manchester United are open to offers for Jadon Sancho, but in the meantime, they want to just crack on with the pre-season, get him involved, get him fit, see how it goes. But yeah, like Harry Maguire, like Scott McTominay, probably like Marcus Rashford, maybe Bruno Fernandes, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Man United are open to offers for any of their players, and that's been pretty much known all summer. So look, that's where we are with that. But very, very significant update on from this morning where we heard that Man United were looking at a loan deal for Simons, and we thought, well, is it true? It's the Mirror. I did say the Mirror has been pretty good over the last 2 years, and Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that yes, Manchester United have held discussions with PSG for Simons. So we'll get straight into that, of course. On the Lou Bridge says Timothy, hi Mark, can you still pre-order signed copies of your book? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I will put that up on the screen for you. Just go to the W.H. Smith link for that. But look, let's get straight into the show. Want to talk about what this Simons deal would mean. I mean, I think that the interesting thing for me about Xavi Simons is, and there will be people in the chat who know a lot more about him than me. As I said, I haven't really massively followed his career in the sense of, like, I know bits, but as I said, I've seen a lot of players like this. I've heard of a lot of players like this, and it just reminds me a little bit of Renato Sanchez, which is just very stereotypical and unfair because he could be a very, very good player. I wasn't massively impressed with him in the Euros, but I don't scout players in the Euros anyway. Obviously, he's a young player in his early 20s who's been, spoken about as the next big thing for a few years now. Incredible story actually behind him. I remember reading about this a few years ago. So correct me if I'm wrong on this. He's Dutch, definitely. He was at Barcelona for about 7 years or 9 years or something like that. So probably from being a very young kid, he was at Barcelona. And then he went to PSG for a couple of years. And then he went to PSV with a release clause of 6 million euros. And then PSG brought him back again and loaned him to Leipzig. So he's had a very eventful career for somebody who's, still 21, 22. So I think that, very, very, very interesting player, and certainly somebody that has been spoken about for a very, very long time as being a really good, potential superstar of the game. Of course, one of the big things, and it was said by somebody this morning, is that Jared Branthwaite was with PSV, I believe, under Ruud, but certainly Simons was under PSV with Ruud as well. So, and he will have been at PSV, I think, potentially when maybe when Ten Hag was still in charge of Ajax. So there would be a lot of knowledge about him from certainly Ruud van Nistelrooy and potentially Ten Hag as well in relation to when he was playing in the Eredivisie. So I think that really, really interesting player. And I think the thing I ask as well is, and maybe some of you would know the answer to this, is that, look, when Fabrizio Romano is saying what I've just said, Man United are interested in Simons and have had discussions for a deal with PSG, it's only because we're drowning with so many legitimate stories at the moment that we sort of like go, oh yeah, that don't impress me much. Oh, you think you're Brad Pitt? That don't impress me. It's almost like that's what we're like now as United fans. Oh, Man United might, get Brad Pitt to be the new CEO, executive. Oh, that don't impress me much. Because normally we'd be falling off our chair when Fabrizio Romano said Man United are interested in Xavi Simons and have discussed conditions for a deal with PSG. This would be the story of the summer last year or the year before. But because we've got Xerxes, we're waiting on De Ligt, we could be going for Agate, we're moving players out, we're talking to Yoro.
Man United might loan in Xavi Simons, sort of like, wow, that don't impress me. But actually, it's a massive, massive deal. Like, it would, I'm right, aren't I? This normally, Fabrizio Romano confirming that we're in talks with PSG for Xavi Simons and we want him, would normally be, boom, shakalak. It would be a massive story. I've got an update on Tony, by the way, Gandalf. So yeah, look, I think we've got to take it for what it actually is, which is a legitimate interest in bringing Xavi Simons to Manchester United, and we've had that conversation with PSG. What I don't know is, and I would throw this to you in the chat because some of you will know the answer to this, and I have a theory on it, is that if he's so good, why are PSG always loaning him? I know people could say, well, if Xerxes so good, why did only AC Milan want him? And if De Ligt's so good, why did Bayern Munich want to get rid of him? So I completely understand that, but how come Xavi Simons is a revelationary player that's going to be superb, but PSG are constantly moving him on? Now, apparently he doesn't want to stay at PSG. Apparently, he left PSG before because he wanted to leave. And then they had the release clause, so he came back. And now he doesn't want to go back. He doesn't want to play for PSG. He wants to go permanently to somewhere like Leipzig or Bayern Munich or potentially Manchester United. So I think there is something in the fact that Simons himself doesn't want to go back to PSG because he wants to move himself. But I don't know, if he's so good, why is he going to be suitable for Manchester United, but he hasn't been suitable for PSG? So look, I don't know what that's all about. As I said, if it's a loan to buy, very clever deal. And I think here, what you've got is that I genuinely think this is being influenced massively by Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I think this has been thrown into the equation. Ten Hag wouldn't say no to Simons, I'm sure, and I think it's been thrown into the board for people like Barada and everyone to throw about. And I think United have gone, you know what, there might be something in there that's worth having a look at, and I think that's what's happened. Look, I felt convinced by what you were saying this morning. A lot of you in the chat, Ruud van Nistelrooy must be trusted if he's going to be an assistant coach, and if the board feel that this is a move to make, then we should make it. And I think that if we are legitimately in for this player, I think we've got a really good chance of getting him, because what Fabrizio said was also, at this stage, there's no formal offer from Manchester United, and Bayern Munich and Leipzig are still in the lead. But I don't take that as Bayern Munich and Leipzig are going to win the race. I just think it's Man United haven't made an offer yet, so Bayern Munich and Leipzig are still in the lead. I feel that if it's Manchester United, Bayern Munich or Leipzig in a race for Simons, I think we win that. I mean, look, maybe Bayern Munich win it because it's Bayern Munich. They won the race for Elise. But I think Man United might win it because we're Manchester United. And whilst Bayern Munich has got a good connection with Dutch players, historically they have, Manchester United's a big pull for Dutch players as well. And Ruud van Nistelrooy has a connection with Xavi Simons, and he's also, a Dutch legend in a sense in the modern day. So, and Erik ten Hag would be somebody with that Dutch connection, and Rennie would be as well. So I think that there is, and obviously he would know some players from the team, De Ligt and Xerxes. So I think that there is a good chance that we could get him. Which is why I'd say, look, it's a bigger story than it's probably getting attention for. When Fabrizio comes out and says that, the story this morning is true, Man United are in talks with PSG for Simons. At the moment, no formal bid, but yes, therefore Bayern and Leipzig are winning the race. It's interesting. The only thing I would say about him is I just don't know where he'd fit into our team. I genuinely haven't seen enough of him to know what. I don't know how. Jared, can I just say I don't really care about the pronunciation of his name. It's not really a massive concern of mine, and it never has been for 10 years. I get names wrong, can't be asked to learn what they are. So you can correct me all you like. I won't change it. If he signs for us, I'll change it. But I'm not really that bothered. people get their knickers in a twist, and I quite enjoy it. But I'm not that bothered about the pronunciation of it. So thanks for the headline on that. But I couldn't give a shit, if I'm being completely honest, and I never have. But what I will say is that if we did sign him, more importantly, what I do care about is where would he play, and what type of player do you think he is? Because I admittedly haven't seen loads of him, and when I have seen a lot of him, I've not it's not I've gone, oh my god, he's the next Neymar, or he's the next Kevin De Bruyne, or he's the next Bernardo Silva. I wouldn't even know realistically, he's he's not going to get to the touchline and whip a crossing, is he? And I still look at that and I go, we do need that. We do need that. We've got Xerxes, we've got Rasmus. People talk about Tony, but we need proper creativity. And does Xavi Simons actually offer anything that Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, Jadon Sancho, Ahmad, and Anthony, and everybody out, and Garnacho, does he offer something different to that? And I honestly ask that question to those of you who know him more than I do. From what I've seen, and I've seen enough. I mean, I've not seen loads, but I've seen enough. Even in the Euros, I don't see a player that's massively creative. But then he's playing in a team with Memphis Depay as his striker, and I never understood what the Dutch were doing there either. So it's unfair to judge a player on the Euros, and I refuse to do it. And I certainly wouldn't judge him on a team that had Memphis Depay playing down the middle, which I just found really, really odd. But I'd be interested to know where he would actually play, and what would that mean to Mason Mount and everybody else. Have you seen Richard Rios for Colombia? Wow, what a number 6 would be perfect next to Manu, says Barney. Trey Warren says he can play right wing and cam, but his best, most creative area is cam. Well, again, that's not going to be... I don't know what that's all about then, Trey, really. Unless we're going to do a shock Bruno sale and rely on Mount and Simons. Simons may not have been given a proper chance at PSG. What are his stats, Mark, says Chris? I don't have those stats to hand, mate. Fidelis, welcome to the members club. Thank you very much. And RMN says, I remember discussing Mkhitaryan joining Man United. This Simons transfer has the same vibes. And William Crossan says, going for Simons is massive, but damn, at some point it's hard to have the investment and excitement for 5 potential deals at the same time, plus exit. Yeah, I agree. There's so much going on at the moment. What's your opinion on the open letter to the fans by Omar Barada, says Anabin. I think it's an intelligent thing from a CEO. I mean, I've seen it before from Richard Arnold. He went down the pub with fans, didn't he? People forget this is nothing revolutionary from a CEO to reach out to the Man United Supporters Trust. It's the sort of stuff that we've heard before. It's good, it's encouraging, and I think things will be different. But the proof will be in the pudding, of course. Some sort of swap deal with Sancho and Simons, says Ross. I mean, ow. What the hell? I feel like I'm falling apart at the moment. I'm really irritable. I've got a migraine as well. It's literally just went like that, and my elbow feels like I've broken it. Oh, God. Carl says, I ordered the signed version of your book today after my ex-fiancée cancelled the original order. Can't wait for it, Mark. Thanks for the support, says Carl. What's she doing cancelling that? I hope you got rid of her for that. Mark, have you seen... we've spoken about him. Hello, says Paddy. Welcome to the Members Club London. Appreciate that. Daniel Derbyshire's been here for 45 months. And Jamie, we've spoken about that. I only want England to win for Manu, says Michael Wright. Thank you very much. I want to bring in... any news if we would pay his wages or would PSG, says Simon. No, don't know anything about that. What I do want to do is just very, very quickly... previous comment there really did just throw me into something that I would like to do. I would like to just compare him to a couple of our players over the last 12 months and just give you a few headlines on what his stats are. But while I'm setting that up, another story coming in today that Juventus still remain keen on Jadon Sancho. Their problem is the wages and transfer fee that obviously Man United, we can't do anything but... demand, because if we don't, then we're in big trouble, aren't we? So I'm just going to compare Simons to a few players here. In fact, let's throw Sancho in as well, because he did play half a season, so he can be in there as well. And who else could we throw in there? Let's throw in Elise, because we know that was the player that we wanted. now plays for Bayern Munich, of course. There we go. So, yeah, and I think that with Sancho, whilst the story is that he's back in training and he could well be part of the first team next season, we have to obviously acknowledge that. It's also worth acknowledging that Jadon Sancho is still up for sale. Just like Harry Maguire, just like Scott McTominay, just like Victor Lindelof and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, maybe even Marcus Rashford. The only players that aren't for sale are people like Rasmus and Garnacho, probably Delot, certainly Mainu, maybe Bruno. I think the rest, Man United have always made it very clear that they're open to offers. So Jadon Sancho is still for sale. It's more about whether they can sell him. But let's just have a quick look here at SIMONS stats from last season. And what I really want to look at is creativity. I suppose that's the sort of thing that we're interested in. And certainly I want to have a look at his ability to put crosses into the box because, and how accurate they are and dribbles and things like that. So, look, first of all, I think it's worth saying that when we're talking about matches played last season, SIMONS played 32, Rashford played 29, Garnacho played 35, Elise only played 18, and Sancho only played 23. So there is with Sancho and Elise, second half of the season was pretty much what they ended up doing. But in relation to attacking, and I want to look at their assists last season. Garnacho had 6, SIMONS had 6, Rashford had 1, Sancho had 2, and Elise had 5. So he has actually got assists per 90, the best record, Simons, 0.2, which is only second to Elise, who was 0.32 because he played far less games, and Garnacho was in third. In relation to crosses into the box, which you might not get too many of those if he's not somebody who actually plays on the wing, but I did see it here. So crosses per 90, 1. Rashford's 1.5, Sancho's 1.9, Elise's 2.6, and Garnacho's 3.2, which says to me he's last because he probably doesn't play on the wing. But in relation to accuracy of his crosses, he's second only to Jadon Sancho with 36%. So interesting there. Dribbles per 90, Garnacho 6.6, Sancho 6.4, Elise 7.8, SIMONS 5.9, and then Marcus Rashford 4.8. So there's, in relation to his stats last season, not really. It doesn't. I mean, look, I don't know how many games he played as a winger last season, but the thing is, I think what Manchester United need is a winger. And it's interesting. I saw something today about, and I need to do a bit of checking on where it came from because it was mentioned, I think, in some aggregator site that Man United are looking at Zigankov of Girona, who is a Ukrainian winger who's 26 with a £25 million release clause, and Man United have been linked to him. It could be the biggest load of bollocks. It could be the beginning of something, but at least he's a bloody winger. And I think we need a winger. I don't think we need another number 10. And I know we've been linked to Dani Olmo, but I think we need a winger. I think that's what Manchester United need. So that would be my reservation about SIMONS, is that we need a winger. And I want to see Man United go out and get what Man United have always been in my lifetime, which is a team that gets down the flank and creates stuff from the flank. And I still hope that Frimpong might still be an option for us. But I tell you what, if we get Frimpong and we've got Xerxes and we get De Ligt and we get SIMONS, that's 4 Dutch players we're bringing in straight away, which is just going to send certain journalists into, orbit, I think. But we definitely do need some creativity from the wing, definitely. Any news if we would pay his wages or PSG? I've done that one from Simon. I've got no idea on this. Do the players we are linked to make you think we will change formation next season, says Carl? No, I don't really obsess too much about formations. It's a bit like people who obsess about what the transfer budget is. I think formations and transfer budgets, we're probably moving past all that now. I really do think that formations people just get, obsessed about. And they don't really matter anymore because football's moved on. You know, I don't necessarily like the modern game as much as I used to 20 years ago because we don't get the banger goals. We don't get the individualistic flair. We don't get, you know, take on 3 players and put it in the bottom corner. We don't get, you know, volleys from 40 yards going in, all that, because it's all structure. It's the Pep way, isn't it? Press high, play through the lines, probe, press, probe, pass, probe. They're all basically playing chess, and it's all about structure, and the individual doesn't matter because it's all about the collective. And I mean, I think that has its place, but I would like to see some more individual flair. Anyway, my point is, people obsess about formation, but I think that we're moving on from that, because when you watch Manchester City or Liverpool under Klopp or even Arteta, they're playing multiple formations within the first half. Like, it's almost like a different formation with the ball and without it. I mean, look at Switzerland in the Euros. When they didn't have the ball, it was a 5-4-1. When they did have the ball, it was a 3-4-3. What was Switzerland's formation then? Because it's a different formation with and without the ball. And, you know, I've seen Man City do this with Vardiel. You know, is he a left back? No. Yes, sometimes he is. Sometimes he's a winger. Sometimes he's tucking in. I think that formations really aren't the only value a formation has now is to put the structure to the team when it comes out for team news, because there's so much going on in a team these days that I don't think a formation change would be as groundbreaking as people think it is. Oh, Man United might be playing a back 5. I don't think it ever would be a back 5. I think it would be a back 3 with 2 full-backs, and then when you've not got the ball, it might be a back 5. So I think that formation doesn't massively concern me. I mean, never say never, but look, I think teams are so adaptive now that it doesn't really matter, and that's the key, is to have players that can be adaptive. And I think that what it's more about, I think style of play is more important actually than formation. You know, are you a team that's going to sit back and counter? Are you a team that's going to, you know, be patient on the ball? Are you going to be a team that's pressing and high energy, and when you get the ball, you know, moving the ball quickly? I think those things are going to be the big thing for us next season, because I think last season our style of play was very, very fragmented and disjointed for a multitude of reasons. What's the difference between individualism and Moments FC, says Michael? That's a question I didn't think I was going to get tonight. I mean, look, we cater for all intelligence levels. Well, individualism is a player's ability. Well, is Lionel Messi Moments? I'll just use the Messi analogy. So, Moments FC is Gareth Southgate ball, where you don't play very well, and then out of nowhere, Jude Bellingham scores an overhead kick, or Saka cuts in and smashes it in off the post, or, you know, right in the last minute, a ball goes to Watkins and he just scores a goal out of nothing. That's Moments FC. That's what people mean when they talk about Moments FC. It's badly coached teams who rely on individual moments. What individualism is the license to express yourself. So if you look at someone like Jack Grealish when he was at Aston Villa, he was encouraged to get the ball and take people on multiple times a game. When you look at Lionel Messi in his prime at Barcelona, multiple times a season and a game, he was allowed to take people on and would score goals by taking 4 or 5 players on. That is individual flair. Moments is what I said it was. They're completely different things. We don't need a winger, in my opinion. Ten Hag needs to coach the current wingers to do their job. Yeah, well, I do think Garnacho can improve United BT in relation to his creativity. Love what I see going on, Mark. I feel like we're going to do great this season, says Andre Smith. I feel it's too early, Andre, but I like your positivity. There's a hell of a lot that needs to do and happen before we can start being positive. We still need a hell of a lot of players out the door. We still need a hell of a lot of players in the door. And we still need a really good start to the season. And they are 3 steps that aren't easy to take. And if we take those 3 steps, I think we're in for a good season. Andre Smith, welcome to the Members Club. You're a legend. Also, what's this from Jody? Sell Rashford to PSG for Simons and Agate. I mean, look, I never feel guilty for football conversation, and that's what we're having. But I do feel guilty that we keep returning to Rashford because he is back in training. I think he can have a big season for Man United, and I know he's not going. So when I say I would let Rashford go to PSG to do deals for Ugarte and Simons, which I would, I feel really guilty because he's not going anywhere. And whether that's right or wrong, he's not going to go. He won't leave. So it feels like we're going back to a negative, actually, because we need to sort of hope on the positive that, he's not going to go, he's not going to leave, United can't get rid of him, whether they want to or not. So we have to invest our time in hoping that he's going to be good. And if he is good, we need to applaud that and reward that because we need Rashford playing well. But Jody, I'll be honest, if we were offered a straight swap for Simons and Ugarte for Rashford, I'd do it. Of course I bloody would. For a number of reasons. We need a midfielder, and I don't think Rashford actually would need replacing necessarily. I think we've got wingers that can do that job. But look, as I said, I think he's going to have a good season, and I think maybe there's a chance that by Christmas people will be going, I'm glad we've kept him. I certainly hope that will be the case, because if he can score 20 goals again, we will be in the top 4, and that's the aim for the season, to be in top 4. Is the aim this season to play scintillating, breathtaking football? Yes. But ultimately, what's the likelihood of that? We don't know. But bottom line, win a trophy and get in top 4, I will take that. And if Rashford can score 20 goals, we'll be well on the way to that. Hi, Mark. With Ashworth in, shouldn't United be looking at relatively lesser known yet talented players like Matoma, who he bought in at Brighton, says Sudindra? Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is a very good point, and maybe we're not ready to do it, but I've been waiting for this for a long time. I've been waiting for this. I've got to tell you about Tony, by the way. The story this morning from Christian Falk about Tony telling Brentford that he wants to come to Manchester United and that's his preference isn't true. And that's from a very good source. That's not true. It's not that Tony wouldn't be interested in coming to Manchester United, but he hasn't said, oh, I only want to go to Man United. That's where I want to go. Let's do the deal. For one, Man United haven't made an approach to Brentford. And for two, Ivan Toney's about to play potentially in the biggest game of his career and isn't opposed to staying in London and going to an Arsenal or a Spurs or a Chelsea. So it's not true. And I did say that this morning. Why would Christian Falk in Germany know that Ivan Toney only wants to go to Man United, and he's put that in? I like Christian Falk. I think he's a good journalist, but I think when it comes to Bayern Munich is where he is good. What I'm seeing from our targets that we seem to be going for versatility, and based on last season's injuries, I think it's smart, says the boat. Yeah, and Simons would be a player that is versatile. But going back to what Sudindra said, I'm awaiting this, and it surely will happen. I want to see us start buying players cheap that we don't know about, that end up being really good, because we can do that. We can do that. I think we've got the most patient, and look, we are the only club in England that has had a youth player on its bench since 1930s. No other club comes close. In fact, most clubs in the Premier League, probably not even in the last 20 years. You wouldn't even have to go back 20 years ago before to find the last time they didn't have a youth player on the bench. So Man United traditionally and recently and always will be a club that embraces, talent and gives it a chance. Exclusively, obviously, since the 30s for the youth team. But we're the same with players that aren't from the youth team. Cristiano Ronaldo came from Sporting Lisbon. There are others as well. Nani and Anderson were not from the youth team. They were very young when we brought them in. We're a club where you can go and buy a 19-year-old from Marseille and he will be treated like he's one of the youth players and he will be given time. Now, Ajax have done this for years. And even under Ten Hag, they did this. Pluck unknown players, bring them in, nurture them, etc. Dan Ashworth at Brighton knows what Brighton are all about. And at some point, we've got to start doing that because we're in debt. We don't have loads of money. And why would you not do it? Cheaper, well-scouted players that will be given the time by this fan base. It's an open goal. Will we do one this year? I don't know. But at the moment, we're not looking at those types of players. You know, De Ligt's going to cost 44 million quid. Xerxes is going to cost 35 million quid. Simons is well known from the Euros. Branthwaite would have cost more than 50 million quid. Someone like Frimpong will cost you 34 million quid. Agate is going to cost you about 40 million quid. So there's nobody that we've been looking at yet that's like one of those types of players. Look, Lenny Yoro is a young up-and-coming player, but Real Madrid want him, Liverpool want him, PSG want him. He's going to cost 44 million quid. I think at some point we will start to bring those types of players in, but maybe it's just a little bit early for Wilcox and Ashworth and, you know, to sort that area of it out. And maybe this summer we have got to go for more established names to get the thing rolling. Big Z says, Mark, have you seen the clip of Rennie Heck absolutely destroying his team in the dressing room? The restructuring of the club looks very promising, to be fair. Yeah, look, he does come in with a very, very good reputation. And he comes in with a very, you know, passionate reputation. It's important to remember that Michel van der Gaag, who has left, has not been sacked. His contract was terminated, but he has not been sacked. The story was that he wants to go and be a number one and had been having that discussion with the club and Ten Hag for a while, which is why Man United knew they needed a bit of a shake-up in the coaching staff. So we've made that change, and I think we've made really intelligent decisions. Ruud van Nistelrooy's season at PSV was very impressive, and he knows the club. It's an absolute open goal. This is a good coach who knows this football club very, very well. You get 2 for 1, really. And then you've got Rene, who is, you know, very, very well, thought of as a coach, but also has this very, you know, very interesting personality, which I think that dressing room certainly needs. Mr. Gamer says, Simons is smart business and good development player as well. Look, I think there's a big chance that we might do that deal. I guess we just have to wait and see. And then that takes me back to Sancho again, where it was an interesting show last night, wasn't it? And it was, you know, right at the start, I said this will be a divisive conversation, and it was divisive because it is a divisive topic. But I think, you know, having had 24 hours to think about it, and with this Simon story coming through as well, it's very obvious that, you know, Man United haven't said that Jadon Sancho's staying and he's a big part of the team next season. And how could you say that after one training session? All that United have done is clean the air, you know, had the apology, got him back in training, and said, look, whatever the outcome, let's do it in a more mature way. You know, when the offers come in, we'll look at them. When you're training and playing in pre-season, we'll look at you. And it beats you as a young player being sat at home playing on your PS5. Surely it does, Jadon. And I think there is finally a bit of maturity there. But United will still be open to offers. And again, I think what people fail to do with Player FC is they never think about the player's mentality. They never think about the player's desire. They think they're the player. Player FC think they're the player. They treat Player FC like it's them. So like with Mason Greenwood, bring the star boy back. Bring him back and put him in the team, because they think they're Mason Greenwood and they think they can think for him. What they don't realise is that Mason Greenwood doesn't want to come back to England because he knows full well what will happen if he does. He's got his own issues, and coming back to play in the Premier League at the moment would be a bloody nightmare for him. So Mason Greenwood never really wanted to come back. Like, he wants to get on with his career and build it. And at some point, I think he'll come back, but no one would ever listen to that. Bring him back. They would never consider, you know, the duty of care to him, his mental health, what he would have to go through. Now, some people might not have any sympathy for that, but what I'm saying is Player FC just think they're the player. They don't think about what the player might want. And it's the same with Jadon Sancho. Oh, bring him back. Get him back in the team. What if Jadon Sancho still wants to leave Man United? What if Jadon Sancho does pre-season and realises he's fifth choice winger and thinks, you know, I want to go? So you've always got to consider the player. And look, Sancho's back in training. Who knows what the future will be? I was very surprised to see him back in training. That to me was a shock. Doesn't mean he's going to start games for Man United. Doesn't mean all is forgiven. Doesn't mean he wants to stay. What it does mean is it's best for everybody. It's best for Jadon Sancho to be training and getting fit. It's best for Man United that he's training and getting fit. And I suppose over the next few weeks, if he does well in pre-season Perlo. In fact, I was just reading in my new book the section on pre-season, and I was laughing because it's so true. Some of the stuff I put in there about how, you know, fans get so hyped about people scoring and playing well in crappy pre-season games. But he might do that like he did last season. And if he does, then that might spark the ears of somebody to come in and say, yeah, we will take him off your hands, or we will pay 75% of his wages, and maybe he will go again. So I'll be very surprised. I'll be very surprised. And let's remember this. I'll be very surprised if when the transfer window closes on August the 31st, Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony, Ahmad are all still here. I can't see us going into next season after the transfer window's closed with those 5. I just can't see it. So Anthony, Ahmad, Garnacho, Sancho, Rashford. I'd be very surprised if all 5 of those are here on September the 1st. Because it doesn't, logically, you're carrying too many players. 200 grand a week for Anthony, 300 grand a week for Sancho, 300 grand a week for Rashford. Garnacho is our best young player, and Ahmad needs a breakthrough season as well. So I just can't see, we can't accommodate 5 wingers. So I'll be very surprised if all 5 of them are here on September the 1st. And let's not forget, we still could buy somebody like Simons or on loan, or bring another winger in. So, yeah, I'm not convinced. I think what Ineos want to do is get everybody training, working hard, smiling, and then when the offers come in, there's a positive environment where people are smiling and you have a smiley conversation and say, look, you're not going to get much game time. Thank you very much. Do you want to take the move? Yeah. I can see the 2 of Sancho, Pellistri and Ahmad leaving and Simons coming in to Storm. I get a feeling United is selling a big player, says Akil. Look, I'm not going to scaremonger because we're such a big community, and I think sometimes things can, concern people. But I do think United do need a sacrificial lamb, and I've said that for a long time. And what a sacrificial lamb is selling somebody that you don't expect to get sold. I expected Varane and Martial to go, and Brandon Williams, because they were out of contract. I expect Casemiro to go, Eriksen, Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire, maybe even McTominay. I expect those players to go because I don't see, why they wouldn't go. But so who would a sacrificial lamb be? Well, there's only really 2, Marcus Rashford or Bruno Fernandes. And I don't think Rashford's going. And I really don't want Bruno to go. But when you look at the 2, the one who's got the most noise around him, I mean, his agent was literally speaking to other clubs in May, is Bruno. And he's the one who's being paid less money. I mean, look, let's just say this. This is the great thing about what we discuss, because we do it every day. How does Bruno Fernandes feel about Jadon Sancho coming back? Probably gets on with him, probably very happy. But behind closed doors with your agent, you're kicking your chair. So hold on a minute. Let me just get this right. They won't give me a new contract. I'm the captain of the club. I'm always fit. Always give everything. They won't give me a new contract, and I'm going back into pre-season training with Mason Mount on more money than me, Casemiro on more money than me, Sancho on more money than me, and Rashford on more money than me. I'm just saying, he's not wrong, is he? He's not wrong. But Man United can't afford to give him a new contract. So does this spark something that really is unavoidable? Or does Bruno just go, don't give a shit, really want to just stay, sod it, let's just get on with it? But he isn't wrong. And Sancho's another player back in the dressing room who's on more money than him and doesn't do anything. So there is... look, I would be devastated if we got rid of Bruno, and I think it would be a massive, massive, massive mistake. The dressing room, I just don't see who leads that dressing room if Bruno goes. And I think the people who might step forward just aren't good enough. But it is an issue for Man United because the wage structure, which is not Sir Jim Radcliffe's fault and is not Eric Ten Hag's fault, but that wage structure don't look good for our most important player. I get a feeling United is selling a big player. That was from Akil anyway. Is there a youngster that Eric Ten Hag might give the Mainu Garnacho treatment and integrate slowly into the first team? Also love the content. Yeah, Mahid, it's been spoken about quite a lot. I mean, look, a lot of people talk about Amas at left back, and I think he's very, very similar to Luke Shaw in the way that he plays in the youth, but is he ready? I think the obvious one is Collier. He was very, very close to the team at the end of the season. And I think he's the one to look at. I think, actually, he was one of the only signings. I think he happened in the Ranić era. I'm not saying Ranić had anything to do with it, but I'm pretty sure we bought him from Brighton when Ranić was here in that 6 months. But yeah, I think he's the one I'm really excited about because he came with a brilliant reputation from Brighton anyway. And he's physically very, very big, good on the ball, and obviously somebody that Eric Ten Hag really, really rates. And he's actually older than Kobbie Mainoo. Like, he's 20. He was 20 in January, so he's a little bit older. And I think he's ready. He's a defensive midfielder as well. So I think it will be a big, big year for him because at that age, 20, I think some people will think he's a little bit older than I thought, but it just shows you that this season is really, really big for him. And the thing about Ten Hag and the youth, and I remember him saying this right at the start, and some people didn't take it the right way. What he said was, I'm not going to give people game time just because we're Manchester United and we promote youth. The players that play for the first team will play for the first team because they're as good as or better than what I've got. And that's the pathway to the first team. And some people thought it was a little bit harsh, but actually it's been brilliant because Garnacho's good enough to play for the first team. Mainoo's good enough to play for the first team. So anybody who comes through now know the pathway. They know if they're good enough, they will get a chance. And at some clubs, look at Man City, look at Chelsea. You might be good enough to play for the first team, but there's no pathway for you. So it's about the standards, just Kevin, yes. And I think Collier this year, it's a massive year for him. And I think that that would be my guess. And as I said, being 20, such a big, big year for him. I mean, the funny thing is about Collier is he's older than Dan Gore. Dan Gore's still 19. So it's a big year for Collier, and I would expect he'd be one of the players I'm very excited to look at in the pre-season. I'm very excited to know what young players we're going to play in pre-season. That's the thing that excites me. And we've got a game on Monday, playing on Monday, and I'll be there. We'll be doing a watch-along for that, rest assured. No worries about that. Look, seeing Harry Maguire or Marcus Rashford or whoever will be nice, and that's what people will turn up to get the autographs for. But really, pre-season for me, and I mentioned it in the book, it's about the players, the next generation. Unless you get new signings that are playing, which we're not going to get. Mason Mount's important, actually. But yeah, really, really interested to see what happens with what young players we take and who plays. Nick J says, I think we need an attacking midfielder. Who's our backup once Eriksen goes? Mount for me, not a pure 10, more an 8. We have lots of wingers, says Nick J. And Alistair Kennedy says, I love the United stand, Mark. However, it would be so amazing if you did a message for the England team and Southgate for tomorrow. Maybe on That's Football, just to show that you're behind the team, says Alistair. Come on. I don't need to do that. Look, I've already said it. I think if Kobbie Mainoo wins tomorrow, and I'm English and I want us to win, but from a purely selfish Manchester United point of view, if Mainoo wins tomorrow, he's won the Euros at 19. That will be just so big for his career. So big for his mentality. So big for his confidence. I know some people don't like England, and I know some of you don't like England, but if we do win tomorrow, I'm not asking you to pray that we win. We'll take care of that. But if we do win, don't be too negative, because there's a positive in that situation. I bet you Ahmad will be the one leaving because he's the only one with ambition, says Ali. I also think Ahmad's the easiest one to sell. I think for Ahmad, you could get 25 million. Whereas Rashford, we won't get anything for because no one wants him. Sancho, we won't get anything for because no one wants him. Anthony, we won't get anything for because no one wants him. Garnacho, we won't sell. So Ahmad is the one I'm the most worried about, really. And it would be the wrong message, but, you know, we're stuck with these wages. We can't sell Anthony, we can't sell Sancho, and we can't sell Rashford. So Ahmad would be the one that could be sold. But hopefully not. Hopefully not. Any chance of a Canadian to enter for the Goldbridge Arms contest, says Canna? Mate, anyone can enter the competition for the Goldbridge Arms. Just go to scan the QR code, go to the competition, enter it, and if you want to be in the Goldbridge Arms and you win, you win. Simple as that. Anywho, thank you everybody for tuning in. I know it's a Saturday night, but it's a novel. In fact, look, I will take some more questions. We've still got 10 minutes. I know it's a Saturday night and people are busy, but I don't always get to do the Saturday night show because for the last 2 years, I've been doing Talk Sport or you know, it's been the Euros and stuff. So it's nice to be able to do it. And you should buy a real pub, Mark, says Tommy. Mate, there's a few pubs I'd love to buy. I really would. You know, we've got to keep our pubs going, you know, definitely. I want England to win, but look who's the manager. Plus, you don't see them beating Spain, says Carl. I look, in relation to tomorrow night, I think Manchester United will win tomorrow. I think that... sorry, not Manchester United. I think that England will win tomorrow. I think that they've got... I've just had the feeling. I said against Switzerland, I was very, very confident we would win. I thought we would beat the Netherlands, and I do think we'll win tomorrow. Fabrizio Romano's just confirmed that Rafael Varane has said yes to Como. The deal is on. He's going to be playing in Serie A. Fabregas has been the key for that deal. Look, I wish him all the best. I really do. I like Varane, and you know, I think he was our best centre back, but the wage and the age was the problem. Simple as that. Yeah, but I do think England will win tomorrow. I do. I've just got this feeling. It might not be pretty, but yeah. Collier and Agate as CDMs for next season, says Akil. Look, we've got to see what Collier's all about, really. I would hope that he has a good pre-season and builds confidence. If I was Ten Hag and you're planning on using Collier next season, I would play him as much as I could in pre-season. I would, you know, build the confidence, get him the game time, and really just, you know, that could be one of the positives of pre-season, because that was what we wanted to do last season with Ahmad and Mainu, and they both picked up injuries, didn't they? I don't want Branthwaite. Guehi will do, says Parker. We'll check out the video from this afternoon. Next summer, Sancho goes into his final year, says Carl. That can be a good and a bad thing. It really could. De Ligt update, says Abhishek. I've not heard anything on De Ligt at the moment. I'm a little bit surprised that we've not actually had a clear update on it so far, because he finished... Look, Xerxes finished with the Dutch on Thursday, flew to England, did his medical, and is now on holiday with his girlfriend, whereas De Ligt hasn't done anything as of yet. So, you know, is he gone on holiday? Are we still negotiating with Bayern, which I think is what's happening there. A few people just in the last hour or so are talking about this Viktor Zikankov of Girona having a 25 million release clause, and apparently Ten Hag has held talks with them. What I would say is that Girona are owned by Man City, and the source is crap from Spain. So I wouldn't be... thinking anything of it yet. But look, Man United being linked to wingers, I'm never gonna have a problem with, because I think it's absolutely essential that happens. Oh God, I'm really panicking about the hype around England. Just get the job done. Just get the job done, please. Stop fucking reminiscing about Italia 90 and stuff. You're nowhere near as good as they were. I'm Irish. Would love England to win for Kobe, especially FA Cup, Euros, possibly, says Ian J.Y. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to say, if we win the Euros tomorrow and Kobe Mainoo's man of the match, he should win the Ballon d'Or. Would you sell 30 years old Bruno for 80 million, says Abdul? No. I'm excited by some of these recent updates, but I'm concerned what DM and left back options we have because we cannot do another season without options there, says Perry. Perry, I wouldn't let it concern you, mate. I wouldn't let it concern you because we will buy a left back and we will buy a midfielder. Not knowing who it's going to be is exciting. I'm not concerned about who the left back's going to be. I'm excited about who the left back's going to be. I don't know who the right back's going to be if Wan-Bissaka's going to go, but we will buy a right back. So I think that we've got a lot to be excited about. And as I said a few minutes ago, when Fabrizio Romano is confirming that we are after Simons and we are in talks with PSG, that normally would be story of the summer for a player like that. And people are sort of like going, that'll be interesting. Let's wait and see. And that just shows you the volume of conversations and transfers we're working on, where the fact that we're talking to PSG about Simons is just a little bit like, oh, let's see what happens with that. Whereas in previous years, that would be running for weeks and we'd be going, are we going to do the deal? Are we going to do the deal? So it just shows you a change, really, doesn't it? What do you think about Frimpong, says Michael Collins? Look, I think Frimpong is a player that I want us to buy for a long time. But whether we can do that deal or not, I don't know. Lots of people have been linked to him. Liverpool, Barcelona, I think, and maybe PSG or Bayern. So, look, there will be competition for him. Any update on Ugarte? It's gone quiet over the last few days. The update on Ugarte is that, as far as I know, he is playing tonight for Uruguay. And therefore, from tomorrow, he will be... Yeah, he's playing at 1 o'clock this morning for Uruguay against Canada in the Copa America third place final. So I think once that's out the way, he's on holiday, isn't he? And maybe that'll lead to it moving forward a bit. Can we realistically do all these deals, though? Winger, left back, 1 to 2 midfielders, 2 centre-backs and a right back if we lose Aaron Wan-Bissaka, says Perry. Well, yes. Thank you very much for that super chat emoji, by the way. But yeah, I think hopefully after tonight, things will start moving forward. To answer Perry's question, can we realistically do these deals? A year ago, no. 2 years ago, no. 3 years ago, no. We were crap at doing deals. But we've just brought this Christopher Vival in out of nowhere when we already had Wilcox, Ashworth, Barada and everybody else. So I think the answer is yes, we can do all these deals, and we've brought people in to get more than one deal done at the same time. So I think we're more than capable of operating on more than one deal at once, and we've demonstrated that, and I think we'll continue to do that. I still believe we can negotiate up to 10 outgoings and 6 plus incomings. We haven't done any outgoings yet, but I think we're capable of doing it. Yeah, definitely. I'm back on the morning show at 10 o'clock unless anything breaks. And I mean, at this time of year, anything can break at any time. Schweinsteiger was announced at 10:30 on Twitter on a Saturday night, believe it or not. So, anything can happen. And we are ready to go. So make sure you subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. But if not, we will be back at... on 10 o'clock show tomorrow. Sunday morning show is always an interesting one as well. Donny has gone, Ryan. You're exactly correct. Donny has gone. Don't forget to pre-order the book. I'm halfway through reading it at the moment, really enjoying it, even though I bloody wrote it. And if you do buy the book, enter the competition. You can do that by going through the QR code as well. And yeah, let's see what happens. But the Simons development from Romano is interesting, and you wouldn't write us off getting that deal done as well now. Take care. Speak to you in a bit.